Well, good evening, everyone. We're here with Frankfort Today. I'm Eric. Across from me is Craig. And our special guest today is Representative Dan Pfister. So, Dan, why don't you tell us how long you've been in office and what counties do you represent?
Well, I represent the 56th district.
Representative Dan Pfister.
Is that better?
Yeah.
No, we had some feedback.
No, he was a little far away.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I represent the 56th district. I'm halfway through my second term. The 56th district.
Not me.
Yeah, I'm hearing the feedback
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, we got it.
I think it's good now.
But
Yeah,
I represent all of Woodford County, about half of Franklin County geographically, not any of the city, but a sliver of Jessamine County, including the city of Wilmore. And I don't know, we'll talk mostly about Franklin County if you want to.
Right, yeah.
I come in on 421, and I follow that Scott County line up around to the Owen County line until we get to the river, and then I come back down towards downtown and join back up. But
So you get close to down. Whoops.
I get close, but I'm not. Like I say, I don't have downtown. So.
Okay.
We might be froze.
I got movement over here.
Okay.
We're just getting our electronic stuff going.
Get things started.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared this time.
That's okay. It's really informal, Dan.
Yeah.
Just talk about
Laid
whatever you
back.
want. If a cuss word slips out, no big deal.
Okay.
But nothing formal. We're not timed. If you want to go into detail on something that we're not aware of, just go on to detail.
Okay.
We'll all learn together.
Okay.
The first thing I want to look at is property taxes.
Right.
Right now, we collect taxes in Franklin County, starting in October, or starting in November. I think we get our bills in October, start paying in November for our 2% discount, go through December for just the regular face amount, and then after January 1, it starts getting penalized, and then February 1, it gets really penalized.
Right.
But that's during the family time for everybody. It's Thanksgiving, Christmas shopping, Christmas, kids getting home from college, they're broke, all that kind of stuff. And I've talked to some people, post on my Facebook page. It seems that property tax bills aren't set by the state, they're set by the county.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody pays at a different time. You said that Woodford pays in October.
Yeah. End of October is the early cutoff for the discount.
And ours is November.
November, you pay the full bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's ever a really good time to pay taxes. I
Right.
mean, we all want to avoid that if we can, but yeah.
Does everybody in Kentucky pay property taxes?
Well, every county's different. I understand that Hardin County, Bardstown, I think they've got a different way of doing it to fund their government, but they're not doing property tax. I understand.
Meaning they don't send their.
They don't have a property tax bill that goes out.
Well, that'd be awesome.
Some of the towns don't have it across Kentucky, or it's very, very minimal. I think Hardin County, they have depended on this barrel tax that we just
Got rid of?
But it was enough to run the county and take the tax burden off the citizens.
Well, speaking of the barrel tax, Franklin County is the largest recipient, or was, or
It's either us or Bardstown.
we were number one.
we were number
Bardstown
one.
was 2, and I forget who number 3 was, but we were getting over $2 million a year from that. And I guess I don't want to go into that. I want to keep going on property taxes,
Right.
but let's remember to come back to that.
Yeah.
Because you're aware of the barrel tax.
Yeah, I haven't. I voted against it, repealing it, but I understand why they wanted it repealed and what it does, and
Yeah. Okay. But do you know for sure if it's at if it's a fiscal court level, where they could change if enough citizens said something about it to get it off the November, December part, but
I don't know. You know, there's certain things that have to happen by a certain date. For example, January 1 is the mark date for who owned the property and who's responsible for the
Right.
taxes. So if you buy a house on the 3rd of January and sell it on the 5th of July, you don't have property taxes. It's that guy on the front end that's going to have to pay them. There are certain dates for things to happen, such as your appeals process for assessments and different things. But I don't know how much of that's set in statute and how much of it's set from
Right.
the fiscal court.
Yeah, that's what I was going
And
to
I'm
ask.
thinking some of that can be changed. I know it can be changed on the state end if we have enough, incentive to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But whether the local governments are going to want to do it, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just a calendar dates, you can move the dates.
You can move the dates.
Yeah, you can move your appeal date and all that. I just think it would be easier on the citizens if, they're getting their property taxes, well, a good majority pay escrow.
Right.
So it wouldn't really affect them because they're paying it every month. But
the people that are being affected are the ones that own their property outright, which is typically your senior citizens
Yeah.
that are on a fixed
Over
income,
50.
and it's a burden to them to
Yeah.
start with. But
because they're wanting to spend money on their grandchildren
yeah,
or help their children through.
or keep a roof over their heads and,
Right.
and eat regular.
Yeah.
It's with inflation and such things, that's getting to be a chore as well.
You ain't telling me nothing I don't see every day. But like the sheriff's office, when I worked for our sheriff here for 3 years, the county would fund the sheriff's office every month up to November. Then in December, we would write the first check to pay them back for the previous 11 months.
Okay.
Now, so that means the counties encumber that money that they can't do nothing with for the whole year except maybe make some interest. Well, they can't even make interest on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we started collecting in February and March or April and May or whenever, then the sheriff's office would have money, and it might free up some other things that the county could do to improve their county.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. I'm trying to think, maybe I think the way the county's budget, they are spending behind the time maybe.
Right.
They've already got the money there, so I don't know if they benefit tremendously by it, but the taxpayer sure would.
Yeah, because the when I was at the sheriff's office, we had to get it back up to speed because it had been let go, so it was in such bad shape. The deputies didn't have equipment and stuff, and so we spent a lot of money, which caused some consternation with fiscal court. But do you want a law enforcement agency? You want a bunch of guys wearing guns sitting at a desk collecting taxes,
Right.
or collecting bills, or just sitting there reading the newspaper all day? Citizens told the sheriff that they wanted a law enforcement sheriff,
Right.
so we had to get them up to speed. So I was just thinking that would be easier to help get a benefit from the sheriff's office, get a benefit from the taxpayers of moving it to where you're getting your federal taxes in, paid checks,
Right.
so you could turn that around and pay your property taxes and not really hit your bank account,
Right.
or at least offset some of it. But that might be too logical for government to
Or it could be a double whammy if you had to pay both.
pay federal and could
and
be
property tax.
Yeah, I pay federal
I take
and
it,
state.
I always end up paying federal.
Well, we're well on the way of taking that state away from you.
Well,
you won't have to,
yeah,
you won't
we're
have
gonna
to pay
talk
that
about
much
that.
longer.
I said that's another good topic
Yeah,
too.
that's. But I just and the other crazy idea I had was like people that are escrowed their taxes. Why couldn't everybody escrow their property taxes and have the local utility company be the payment? Just put it on your, like Farmdale Water District collects the Farmdale Sanitation District bill.
Right.
Okay, why couldn't, instead of paying one big payment of $2,000 or $1,500 or whatever, pay it over 12 months so it's not as big a burden, and just make it part of your regular utility bill? And that would be easier on people also, an alternative. And then the sheriff's office would have money every month. The school systems would be budgeted every month. They'd have money coming in every month.
Right.
And if we wanted to raise taxes to pay our teachers what they deserve, it would be spread out over 12 months instead of your tax bill is $1,000 this month and the school system needs money for new schools, or we got to get the teacher salaries up, or we got nothing without teachers. Instead of getting a $400 hit at once, spread that $400 out to $35 over 12 months.
Right.
But that would be a lot of work.
Yeah, there's a lot
For
of
government
moving
officials.
parts in that, and you've got separate entities, utility companies and stuff that are coming in. They're going to have to get on board as well. But I don't think it's a bad idea to look at, start hammering on,
Well, I've been putting it out there for a while, and some people like it. Some people said it's too much work. Well, you're not elected to not work. You're elected to make things better, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, that's what you do every day, right?
That's my job, is to try to help people.
I mean, all these meetings you attend all over the place that I see, you and everybody else.
Yeah.
Carry out the will of the people.
Yeah, it's not for you. It's not for your benefit. It's for our benefit. Yeah. So that's just my little thing on property taxes that I bring up every now and then.
Let's keep on tax.
Okay.
Because you're starting to talk about income tax, and I guess the long term goal is to eliminate that, which is
Zero.
right.
Zero.
Which if you're a business owner or even a consumer, you'll realize that we pay a whole lot more. We pay sales tax on a whole lot more items now, because there's a lot of our services as a computer service company that we now have to tax that we didn't have to before. So do you know what the acceleration rate of that is when they expect to get that to zero? Obviously, you can't just cut it all out at one time.
Well, it actually started several years ago. I think 15
Was it
is when they went from.
was it under Bevan when they went to
was under-
5?
It was under Bevan. It was a variable rate at one time. That's when it went to 5.
Straight
Is
5.
in 15.
Because mine went down at that because I
Right.
was in the 6.
And most people would have if they have larger incomes, but then it went to 4.5 and to 4, and each time we hit a trigger with the economy, it's got to have certain triggers.
Yes,
It's
hit
gotta
certain
be-
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as we meet them, it'll be reduced a 0.5 percentage point each year. Now, I understand we did not meet that trigger this time, so it'll stay at, I guess it's 4%.
Is it 4 or 4.5, something like that?
Something like that,
Yeah.
but it'll stay where it's at today, and then next year we'll look at it again. But as long as the economy's coming along strong, we're in good shape.
Well, speaking of economy, along that, I'm curious, and you may not be in a position where you can tell or not, but in economic development, there's a lot of, if not most of their, the tax incentives that are driven by such taxes as like the income tax, which as you lower that gives the state less ability or the counties less ability to incentivize companies to build jobs. Is that something that's been looked at or considered or anything on the radar yet?
I don't. I can't speak intelligently about it,
And that's fine.
But what they're looking at is things on the payroll tax side. Some of the monies, what we did with the 4 Blue Oval what was it? I can't remember the whole name of the new battery plant that they're working on.
SK Blue Oval.
Yeah, SK
something.
Blue
Yeah.
Oval. I think what they did there is they made cash investment into it, but it was done on the back end instead of on the front end, like a lot of this stuff is.
Yeah,
So they had to hit thresholds before they got money from the state.
Because that's what ends up happening. Like on the income tax, if the company gets that money back, it happens after. Obviously, after job creation, after tax collection, then they get a refund check on that. And the closer you get to 0.5%, then there's less money there to incentivize job creation, like the
Right.
Blue Oval plant.
Well, and there's something else that you're confusing here, I think.
Maybe.
We're getting rid of individual income tax.
Yes.
Right.
Corporate tax is still
Yeah.
right where it was at.
Maybe that's
So-
what I'm thinking.
So that's a difference.
That will encourage people
That
to
would
move
make,
here.
make some difference.
Yeah,
too.
like Texas, Florida, and Tennessee don't have state tax. And
maybe
look
that is done on
look at those three
local.
states.
Yeah. It's an individual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess the local occupational tax comes into play in some
Right.
counties.
Yeah, and
not the
but
state.
they're exploding, and the Blue Oval, Ford is just in the last couple of days announced they're pulling back on Blue Oval, Michigan, Blue Oval, Kentucky, because people aren't buying those electric cars.
Well, the whole electric idea, I think, is
a
blowing
joke.
up on them. You know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're going to incentivize, I'm going on my China thing again, when 85% of the raw materials come out of China, and China's getting them out of Africa with, the pictures of little kids with spoons digging a cobalt out of a mine that's 1,000 foot deep in the ground. It might make us feel good over here, but you can't make any of those things without fossil fuels.
Well,
And then you're putting the people in Africa, they're not getting paid nothing. We're paying our number one adversary, who's now got a bigger navy than we do, and they're stealing all our technology. I could go on this crap forever, but everything we buy from China, every nickel we spend on China for windmills, solar panels, nickel, cadmium, lithium, everything. While we're buying it from them, we're shutting it down here in America. In Nevada and Michigan, got two of the biggest, richest lithium mines
Well,
on
there's
the
a
planet.
movement to stop any kind of mining in the United States.
Yeah, and
that's a mistake.
I mean, we can, we could use those mines to be independent of China.
Yeah.
But we got people, environmentalists, stopping it.
Well, we had oil independence. We were a net exporter of oil.
Correct.
A few years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
And our gas was $1.89 a gallon.
Exactly.
And so when you see, the economy's getting better, gas is $1.70 a gallon cheaper than it was. Well, who drove it up to $5.75? And so we're at $2.99, $3.19, something like that. That's not a decrease. Not if you jacked it up to the moon.
Well, and we hear, how strong the economy is, but if you listen to the Fed and some of these other people that getting ready to have a recession here. Just the
Maybe.
question is how bad.
Yeah,
is what
well,
it amounts to.
it's like in the movie 1984. I always remember this. This is the biggest scam in the world. They were rationing chocolate by grams. So they were giving everybody a monthly allotment of 25 grams of chocolate, but they needed to cut it down to 20. So they said, well, everybody knows it's 25, but the news puts out, well, it's 30. I mean, it's you're only getting 20, so we're going to take you up to 25. But they're really dropping them down to 20, but they're told it's 25, and they have to believe it. So if you raise your prices, say you're $100 an hour, and then you take it to 175, and then you drop it to 125, and say, look, I've saved y'all $50 an hour on this sale.
I'm lowering my rate.
But you're actually netting yourself $25 an hour more.
Right.
So
Yeah, this plays on the short-term memory and the ignorance of not paying attention.
right.
Right.
So, it's you got to watch what you're doing, and every tax, every fee you pay is a tax.
Exactly.
I've talked to our city leaders about why charge a fee of $75 or $100 for this or that. Just make it free and be glad you got a business that's willing to locate in your town. Why nickel and dime them to death? That don't make any sense because they're going to bring in a lot more tax dollars, occupational tax dollars, than that $15 that you're going to make them waste half a day to go down and pay.
It's a mindset. We've been through, 97 years, I'll take it that way, of tax and spend here in Kentucky. the fact is that if you let people keep their money and reinvest it and grow the economy, you don't need this high tax rate.
Right.
It will increase. Look at what we've got right now as far as budget surplus monies. You know,
Is it over? It's all-time record again?
all time. It's still, yeah. When I came in, we had a matter of basically a day or two's worth of savings account, if you will. Now we're getting several weeks there. You know, that's how we've gotten our credit ratings to improve, and our investments are improving, and we're doing better as a state because of that.
But I'm gonna reach out here pretty far on that whole thought. Well, you give people their money, they invest it, spend it how they want.
Right.
You've increased sales tax, which I'm fine with because that's a use. If I don't want to pay the tax on $100,000 vehicle, I don't buy a $100,000 vehicle.
Right.
Right.
And then becomes a choice, like a consumption tax. So with that, we know that poor people aren't poor because they don't have money. Poor people are poor because they're bad with money. Right. You put more money in their hands, and more than likely, the vast majority of the people are going to spend more money.
Look at lottery winners.
Look at lottery winners. Always, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Most of them are always broke within 3 or 4 years and in worse financial condition than before.
Right. Filing bankruptcy after winning $100 million. How the hell do you do that?
How do you do that? Yeah. But you put it out there, and that money still comes in.
Right.
Yeah. So I agree with that. And if you're fiscally responsible and you put your money away or invest it somewhere.
Well, that's where we've got to step things up on the educational end.
Right.
We've got to teach our kids how to manage money.
Right.
We got a lot of people adults that burned a hole in their pocket. They got to spend.
Got to spend it.
Just can't wait to spend it.
And it's amazing how many people don't have bank accounts. They walk around. They'll go to the local grocery store. Who'll charge them $10 to cash their check. And
because they don't trust the man.
It happens. Yeah. And they're walking around, with the money in their pocket. And then, anytime you bust a $100 bill, it's gone.
Gone.
But you'll keep a $20 bill longer. But you bust that 100, you're going to blow it.
Yes, you will.
I mean, everybody knows that. Everybody sees that all the time.
It doesn't matter if it's a $50 bill or a $20 bill, wherever your financial status is. Younger people, if they got a 20, if they spend it, but yeah, I mean, you break it into a small bill, then it doesn't hurt your feelings to.
Yeah, if you teach them how to save your money. We had an employee, a dishwasher, been with us since we opened the doors, and he had never saved a nickel. Just paid his rent, bought his food, and spent it. So we worked. His rent went up on his apartment, so he said he didn't know what he's going to do. I said, well, do you want some help? And we had him detail out his bills, and I'm not exaggerating. Within about 6 months, he had gone from no bank account and no money to having $7,000 in a bank account.
Oh, yeah.
Because he watched what he spent.
Right.
I did that with a friend of mine. I told him, I said, write down everything you spend for 30 days, and we'll look at it. And he couldn't believe where he was spending his money.
Yeah. You see that you're buying a $7 cup of coffee just because you always do it, but then you see it on a piece of paper. I paid $7 for that damn.
Well, and it's not the $7 coffee. It's the 12 in a 30-day period.
It all adds up. That's what I'm saying. If you buy one every morning before you go to work,
right,
that's $210.
When you write it on that paper like that, you're forced to visualize it.
Right, and then you say, "Well, I spent $210 on coffee. I could have bought a damn coffee truck for that."
Right.
For that much money.
Yeah. How important is that expenditure to you?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I remember, when I started working for state government, I was making like $6,000 a year. Had an apartment. Apartment was $190 a month. Bought a new car. It cost only a Camaro, $6,000 before I met you.
Yeah.
It was only $6,000, and I thought I had money left over. I thought I was rich. I said, "Daddy, this is pretty good. I'm making like $2.12 an hour for state government."
Right.
But as you go up, you buy more expensive things. Costs
The
go up.
more you make, the more you're going to spend.
Right. And in the end, if you're not saving your money like we was talking about, it doesn't matter if you're making $100,000 or $10,000. Time it's all said and done, you're still going to have that same amount of money left over at the end of every month because you're going to blow it. You say, well, if I'm making $10,000 a month, I can buy this because I know I'll get $10,000 next month until I lose my job. Mm-hmm. So, that's just financial literacy and.
Oh, that's all it is.
And like Eric said a couple podcasts ago, he said, I'm a tightwad. And he's known me long enough to know that that's a fact.
That is a fact.
Other than what I'm driving. But
he is such a tightwad and so particular. I'm going to tell a story on him. What was it? You had bought your Escape and something else. You had 0% interest.
a van for Teresa.
Van for Teresa.
'Cause we had our
0% interest. That was when the car dealerships,
Yeah.
right after 2008.
Both of them were 0%.
He sold his apartment buildings, and he says, I got to pay these off. I said, you're an idiot if you pay them off.
Yeah, he did.
And I said, keep it. That money is worth less the longer you pay it off.
Right.
He said, I don't care. He said, it makes me mad to write him a check. But
Yeah, I had to pay them off just for the mental well-being
Right.
of not having debt.
and there is a huge accomplishment in that. I mean, right? You spent years on the apartments of
right.
sweat.
And I've been debt-free since I've been 47 years old.
Yeah.
Not owed a nickel.
Not, and it's not a bad thing. And you're right. It is liberating to not owe anyone.
But
Well, and there's different kinds of debt. Owing
Right.
on your house is different than having $100,000 worth of credit card debt and nothing
Right.
to show for it.
right.
well, I paid my house off
Yeah.
too. Yeah, that was the first thing I did. They hit that third day, where they can go back on the deal.
Right.
Third day, the fourth day at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was in the bank writing them a check.
There you go.
Get that thing done, and but it's just how you want to spend money, and that's why I think on this property tax, it could help so many people if we could change the way it works,
Right.
and it could help. Most of property tax, the one tax I don't mind paying is a tax to raise the teacher's salary. That's the one I'll never complain about because we don't have nothing without teachers. But people complain if they see they go up 4% and your property tax bill goes up $400. That's when they complain.
Well, and they don't see anything happening for it.
Right. Because it's,
When there's the trash isn't getting picked up or the water's brown when it comes out the faucet or whatever, people want to have a certain standard. And as long as that's being met, they're good. But if it's not, then they're going to start to rebel.
well, if we start losing all our teachers to Woodford County
Well,
or Scott County because they're
try Fayette County.
or
They are the
Fayette.
highest paid teachers in the state right
higher than Oldham County,
now. Higher than Oldham County. They're number one in the
Dang.
state. And I've talked to several superintendents across the state, and they've lost teachers to Fayette County. But normally they come right back. So
Normally
I
they come
don't know.
right
I don't
back.
know what that says, but
we could have
money isn't everything, I guess. But,
Right. Right.
Well, peace of mind.
And
Peace of mind.
I'm not going to guess what causes it.
Yeah, no, because we know what causes it.
Yeah.
But you want to do the safe haven?
Oh, on the safe haven baby boxes, starting to become a popular thing.
Right.
And Frankfort is getting one with the new fire station. What can you tell us about that program?
Well, I'm very excited about it. Let me tell you that. And let me give you a little full disclosure here
Okay.
as well. I am very pro-life. I actually sit on the board of directors of Central Kentucky Right to Life. And I've worked indirectly to try to get some of these safe haven baby boxes in other locations. It didn't have anything to do with this one. I think that guy sitting over there is one that planted the seed and got it going.
No, it wasn't me. I was just reached out by a local pastor and just said, "Can you put it on your Facebook page?"
Yeah.
And they had already done a lot of work.
Which one?
Capital City Christian. They had already done a lot of work. I just publicized it a little bit. But I did call you to ask you about it.
Well, we had talked about it there at the restaurant one day.
When John
and then,
reached out
and
to
then
me.
all this stuff starts coming along, and I'm like, Yeah, here's a guy that
Well, John did it, at Capital
Started it
City
going,
Christian,
right.
and he was down there when the city announced they were going to do it. And I think the information you sent me was there's like 19 of them across Kentucky. People have turned in babies already.
yeah, there's been a few. Hopefully these things never get used. I mean, we
Right.
want parents to raise their children, but if you're in a position where you can't, I'm happy they didn't abort the baby.
Right.
Let's get that baby in the hands of somebody that can take care of it and wants to take care of it, and lessen that burden on you.
Right.
You know.
Which I agree with that. I'm very pro life as well, and it is I would much rather someone do that as to abandon the child, abort the child,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
abuse the child.
Exactly. And you hear all the time about babies found in trash, that
I
kind of
can't
thing.
In the
imagine.
big cities.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I think they'd had some in Richmond here a few years ago.
oh, really?
Found one down there. I mean, it's young girl in trouble that doesn't know where to turn. You
Right.
know.
Yeah, and it's a potential recipe for disaster. I mean, if you don't want the child, you can't afford the child, you're struggling with your own life and keeping your own self together.
Mm-hmm.
You throw a child in the mix, that only adds to your money problem. It only adds to your stress.
It complicates life real quick when children
Yes.
start
Right.
coming along.
And it was. I mean, I said John, so I mean, it was John Sutphin at Capital City Christian Church that I think spearheaded it for Frankfort
Okay.
and got the city commission to go along with it. And what a better place to put a baby than at a fire department.
Right.
Well,
where
and that's the
most
whole
of it
concept.
go.
Yeah, that's the whole concept because they're 24/7,
Right.
and they're all at least EMT trained, so
Right.
they can give.
And so it's working out, and I guess more are coming along.
Yeah, I know the Knights of Columbus are working on a few here, I think in Georgetown and maybe in Richmond.
Because this isn't
there's-
state tax dollars that's doing
No,
this.
no,
It's
there's
all donations.
No state tax dollars at all. Now, it may go into the side of a fire station or something that belongs to a government, entity, but you'll find them at hospitals as well. They can go anywhere that is staffed and readily accessible for somebody to come in and surrender a child.
Now, and this is where I get torn, but do they have provisions to protect the privacy of the person who drops off the child? Like there's no cameras or
No, nothing.
Just-
What's going on there? There's a sensor inside that box, and when you put the baby in it and shut the door, it sets off an alarm, normally to 911, to let them know that the baby's there, and the EMTs will come and take care of it from the other side. Mother's gone. That was one of the issues that I'd heard that was complicating things on some other the way the law was previously. There was a mother that took a child to a hospital to surrender it, and the staff, for whatever the reason, got all of her information and released it. And they
Oh,
weren't
they did?
supposed to, yeah. And I don't know exactly where it happened, but I've heard anecdotal story about it. But that's what was kinking things up. People were scared. They don't want to be stigmatized by this.
right?
And
Well, it defeats the whole spirit of it, right?
it does.
It's like
It does.
I don't need to know who you are. I don't need to know anything about you.
Yeah.
Just protect the baby.
Just protect the baby.
that baby.
So it's when John, I can't remember if he called me or sent me a text message to, ask for help to publicize it. I said, what would be so hard about this that it would need publicized? Who wouldn't want to protect the darn baby that a mother can't take care of?
Exactly.
So John got it done.
And adoption is a beautiful thing. I'll tell you what, my grandson's adopted. My niece and her husband couldn't have children, and they went through the fertility stuff and everything, and by the grace of God, somebody that they knew somebody that already had a child, did not want an abortion, but did not feel that they could take care of their baby. They were pregnant. And so they did a private adoption in between them. My niece and her, well, not her husband, but my niece, when she was growing up, my wife and I were real close with her mother and father, and they passed away early.
Mm-hmm.
So when they adopted the child, she said, I want this kid to have a regular family thing. Would you all be the grandparents? Happily.
Yeah. Right.
So this is my grandson just as much as if it was blood to me.
Right.
Loved the little guy all to pieces, you know.
Well,
And but yeah, it
one
works out good.
of our friends and one of yours, I'm not going to say his name, but he's adopted, running a business that affects drug addicts, alcoholics, and he's touched the lives of thousands of Kentuckians, better the lives of hundreds of Kentuckians.
Right.
And think if it didn't happen.
Well, there's
Think
a
of
lot
the outcome of those, because
there's a lot of stories like that. I met a lady back, been about a month ago now. She survived a botched abortion, and the things that she's doing with her life going forward, you know, helping other people and touching lives. We had a lady that testified before our caucus. I don't know if it was before the whole before committee or not, but she did testify in a caucus. She was a child that was that came about due to a rape.
Oh, wow.
And her mother had her. And she's working with families that have problems and doing the social worker kind of thing and helping as many people as she can.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some beautiful stories.
Yeah, there's the old adage that,
yeah,
you know, the kid that you aborted might have been the one that grown up and cured cancer.
Well,
Because you never know.
You know how many millions babies have been aborted? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah.
But have you tried to find an employee?
True.
Think about the jobs that are open and the people looking for employees.
Yeah, no.
Think about that. I mean, just, you know.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's millions. It's unbelievable. Something Kentucky does also, one of our leading industries is tourism, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and like Tyler Adams is the general manager of the Buffalo Trace, He was on WKYT's Newsmakers the other day, and alone, Eric said that Buffalo Trace this year is looking at 600,000 visitors.
This year?
This year, 600,000. Said it on TV. I've got it. You know, I
Because the number we'd been messing with was like 350
or 400.
Yeah.
600,000. This comes from the GM of Buffalo Trace. Tourism being as big as it is, you know, our state parks, y'all are injecting tens of millions into our state parks to get them back. Because at one time, our state parks were the number one state park system in America, right?
Yeah, and then there wasn't anything done to them.
Yeah.
They stopped doing maintenance or anything.
Yeah.
I guess
Because we used to go in the
time
80s all the time.
Yeah, I mean, back about the time they built them, that was the end of it.
Yeah. We got 51 state parks. I know that.
And some of them look just like they do when I was in high school.
Well, exactly.
You know, so that money is much needed.
But I always look forward, you know, when I was at work, working for state government, when we'd have meetings to go into state parks because, you know, when the meeting's over, you know, you're done at 4:30 and it's not getting dark till 9. You can go play golf or
fish
go
or
through
whatever,
the park
and sightsee the area.
and eat the killer food that they serve at the state parks.
That actually, Kentucky Dam Village is where we went on our honeymoon 45 years ago.
It is.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, Frankfort, obviously, I'm not saying nothing everybody don't know. We got 600,000 people coming just to Buffalo Trace, not counting the Capitol, but just the Buffalo Trace. We're not working to keep them here.
Right.
I mean, I get very few to come to the restaurant, and I've got all kinds of spies down at Buffalo Trace trying to direct them.
Right.
I think that's the only reason they do come. I know Jim Seafood gets a lot of them
They will
and
get
locals.
some, yeah.
Yeah, but for 600, the percentage, if we just captured 10%, that's 60,000 more people that are renting hotels, eating at restaurants multiple times all over Frankfort.
Do we have that many hotel rooms, though?
Well, we're in process. Frankfort,
Well, I know, but I mean, right
Not
now,
I don't know
now.
how many rooms we
You know.
have. What we probably have
I don't know.
250,
I
300.
have no clue.
Yeah.
No clue. But we're getting, I think I've been told there's 8 hotels being built now.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's the one behind the gas station on 60.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting one up there by Democrat Party headquarters across from the steakhouse, or what was the
There's
steakhouse?
one behind the Ford dealership, that little area back. I think they're building a hotel back there.
There's a bunch.
Right, just right up here. Like,
Yeah, and then we'll get one probably down at the parcels B and C.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on my Facebook page, build a 30-story Hard Rock hotel.
hard right.
Everybody thought that was
I
funny.
saw that.
Everybody
Yeah.
thought that was funny. But you know, if you're going to
But yeah,
dream big.
Well, you got to, and if you want to keep that, any of those people here, you got to have something for them to look at.
Right.
Because they're going to come in, they're going to do the tour, they're going to have a taste test or whatever, hit the gift shop, and if there's nothing else on their agenda, they're gone.
Many
Right.
come in just for whatever they're selling out of the gift shop for the day. They're
Exactly.
literally in town 30 minutes and gone.
Right.
And the sad part is if you know, either the distilleries would work together or local tourism would work with them. We've got Castle and Key, which has a phenomenal story. You got Four Roses.
Castle and Keys in Franklin County.
Yeah, right over the county line.
No,
Yeah.
In fact, it might
it's
even be
in-
on the
It's
county
in
line.
Woodford County.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we have the hotels,
That much.
right?
Yeah.
If we have the hotels and we keep them here in town, I mean, within a 15-minute drive, you've got multiple options.
Well, we are the, you know, Bardstown stole the bourbon capital of the world from us.
Mm-hmm.
They've got like 8 distilleries, and they got a $20 million.
Yeah.
I haven't been to it, but I've seen plenty of pictures. It just must be spectacular.
Right.
A bourbon history center or something like that. But we should, because we got the oldest, most continuously run distillery in America, in the United States. And obviously, it gets even though it's not on the bourbon trail, probably gets more visitors than anybody.
It gets a bunch. You know, bourbon's a hot topic.
But we're
People
just not
wanna come
embracing
visit
it.
these
Yeah,
things.
Frankfurt, London's embracing it. New Albany's embracing it. Our Buffalo Trace is expanding all over the place, except in its hometown,
Right.
which makes zero sense to me. But
I got somebody I need to ask about this, but you got the Kentucky distillery numbers, the DSP numbers, like DSP 1 is Heaven Hill.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder how they got one. If we're the longest continuous run, we're obviously not the oldest, or at least we didn't get our
Well,
DSP number.
We're like
Early
one of
at
the
all.
5
Well,
old.
they may have been the first one at the Distillers Association when the numbers were handed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And the Distillers Association does not encompass every distillery because I've checked.
Yeah, I'd say it doesn't.
No, it does
Because
not.
I get emails periodically. This distillery's joined or another one is joined. And
Well, and it's like the Bourbon Trail. Buffalo Trace is not on the Bourbon Trail, but choice. They don't need to.
Yeah.
They don't need to spend the money.
It costs them too much.
Right. Well, and you know, if you don't need to advertise in the state journal for your pizza, why are you going to spend the money just so you
Right.
can say
Exactly.
you're in the state journal?
Yeah.
Like, there's no one that doesn't, you know,
And I'm
in bourbon that doesn't know Buffalo
I'm gonna
Trace.
see if I can get that Tyler Adams on. He was really nice on. I think it's Bill Bryant on Newsmakers. Have you been on Newsmakers?
no.
Okay.
I've talked to Mark in there a couple times, the president.
Well, if you know him, we need to.
I don't know him. I've talked to him a couple times,
Okay.
and he's a super nice guy too.
Okay.
That's not to say we can't get him on here.
Yeah, I just found out another friend's working down at the gift shop. So I said, good to know.
Yeah. I've got a friend that works down there too. So.
So, you know, it's just with sports tourism also, we're trying to bring that back in Frankfort, but it's individuals. We're not doing a concerted effort. I know this because I've been involved in it, to bring tournaments like when I played softball, there was tournaments here almost every weekend, 40-team, 30-team tournaments. And then what do you do when we get done? You go out somewhere and get something to eat. If you're when we traveled all over the place, we'd spend the night Friday night and Saturday night in whatever town we're playing in.
Right.
So that, filling up a lot of hotels, is bringing tourism money in, helping restaurants grow or stay
from gas stations,
or staying open.
clothes.
Right.
Yeah.
Going up to the local sporting goods store because you broke your cleat or something, or you ripped your glove out and you need some new leather. All those things. But let's see. We got individual guys doing youth baseball, disc golf. I did softball. We could have volleyball, all kinds of different things because we got something in Franklin County that everybody else doesn't have, and that's location.
Right.
And we got Buffalo Trace that we could tie into that. We got the Capitol building, like we talked about. Dan told me the Capitol building doesn't get the number of visitors you would think it would get.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to other state capitals and they're lined up to come in and visit. Not the case here.
And ours looks like the one in Washington D.C.
Right.
Have you?
Yeah,
been?
there's only I have.
It's beautiful
Because there's
in there.
only 7 keeps coming to mind, but that might be wrong. But there's only a handful of Capitol buildings that are domed like ours.
Right.
Yeah, and it cost $1 million to build back then.
Back then,
Yeah, it'd be $1 billion today.
I was saying, I wonder
And
what.
I'll tell you something about that Capitol. I've been in and out of it for the last, I don't know, I guess about 7 years. I've been playing around the legislature. And every time I go in and I've got a minute and I look around, I see something different.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, there's there's stuff
Yeah.
there. I mean, all kinds of history
It's
there.
Just a little
It's-
detail that you
Little
didn't notice
detail
before.
you did not notice before.
Yeah,
a mural
it's a
or something.
spectacular building. And why have you ever seen any marketing on our state capitol from tourism? I mean, you see the school buses come in. I mean, Eric lives here, so that's why I was asking him. You see school buses come in, and we do get Jackson County comes in every year, and they come and eat with us. They've done it 3 years in a row now. We get other schools coming in, but why is Frankfort not marketing the Capitol building? Because it is pretty damn awesome.
It's
Once you get
cool.
inside, it is neat as
Well, and
heck.
you go in there, the staircases on all the marble, it shines.
And
I mean, it
when
shines.
you listen to the staff that comes in there and gives those tours,
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I can't even begin to tell you what's going on, but they can tell you what kind of marble it is and
Right.
why the printing's different on different things. And I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine during coronavirus. Well, I was going to say his parents were customers, but her son needed a job during Corona, so he worked for us for a while. And I called him up and asked him if, it was right at 4:30, but it's like 4:15. But he gave us a tour of the Capitol because my daughter had never had a tour where she was old enough to understand it.
Yeah.
And we had some, she was a teacher then, and she had some other kids with her. So he hung around and we toured the Capitol, and he said, well, I'll take you some places I don't normally take other people. So we went to Senate chambers and House chambers. We were all over the place. And you're right. I mean, he told us stuff that I've lived here 50, almost 60 years now that I didn't know. And I've been in that building 1,000 times, and I still didn't know. But one thing, that you might not notice is the stairs are worn.
Yeah.
So you think, how many people have been up and down these things? What's the history of those people that have walked those stairs to go legislate for Kentucky? You got to be crazy thinker.
And I've only been in it a couple of times, and I noticed that when Jonathan had prom, they went in there and we took pictures in there.
Yeah.
And you notice it's got it's probably a half inch maybe across.
Yeah.
But it's noticeable.
Yeah, it's enough to
I
notice.
bet you more people have toured Toyota than have toured our Capitol.
We get busy from when we gavel in session in January until the end of session, whether it be March or April, depending on long or short session. But the rest of the summer, there'll be people there, but not much.
And
I went down to meet a tour group here about a week ago. They were running late. We sat there for 30 minutes and not a soul in the building other than us.
Yeah, take you to the governor's office.
Yeah.
Peer inside there, and ride the elevators and if it's during session, you get to see people and talk to them that you see on TV.
You can go up in the gallery and watch
Yeah.
some of the proceedings. And
Can you
it's
yell
just-
at? Can you yell at y'all?
No.
Say, hey, Dan.
Now, in fact, there's I think 7 or 8 arrested last session for that.
Well,
but
see, like when be watching on KET when Governor Carroll was in the Senate. He was always on the front row.
Right.
I'd call him up in between sessions, say, "Hey, Gov," or I'd text him. I'd say, "Hey, Gov, turn around and wave," and he'd stand up and he'd wave. Big, how he is.
Oh yeah.
And then other legislators I'd met through that come up to the restaurant and eat, and text them, and it's just pretty cool seeing that. And there's not many nerdy people that will watch KET while y'all are working,
Right.
but it's just neat seeing the ones that know that you can reach out to them, and they actually respond or something like that.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool place. But you mentioned earlier about the history of the people walking up and down those steps. Tell you just a brief story. My first time that I ever got to speak on the House floor. I'm a little quiet and shy kind of guy normally anyway, but I pushed the button on the console, and the speaker recognized me, and I grabbed the microphone and adjusted it, and I couldn't say a word. I got to thinking about all the statesmen that have been there before me and all the bills that have been debated on that floor. And, some amazing legislation goes back way back,
Right.
And it took me a second to compose myself so I could say something.
Yeah, I mean,
So you didn't step up here the first time and sound like Trey Gowdy or somebody like that and just
No.
go into it.
It's more like,
That would be kind of humbling and awe-inspiring.
It is.
Because you're you're looking at, over 200 years of history there.
Yeah.
You're just one of many.
One of many.
And if we marketed it, I talk to people all the time. Said I ain't been in the Capitol since I was in school, elementary school. But there's 119 other counties that would, you think you could spend some advertising in those towns to get them to come to Frankfort. If they're coming from any distance at all, they're going to spend the night.
Well, every school group I talk to, every Boy Scout, Girl Scout, whatever children's group, I tell them, call me, call my office. We'll get you set up on a tour. Come visit.
Yeah.
And just a fraction of them take you up on it.
Right.
But it'd be cool. Every kid should be able to come and visit the Capitol at least once.
And we got to, if they wanted to do some good tours, I mean, there's a lot of things to see between Daniel Boone's grave, Fort Hill,
The Armory.
the Capitol.
Yeah, Daniel Boone's grave is cool because you can see over all of Frankfort.
That would be a good right before going to the Capitol because you get the nice overview of it.
See
So
where you're going. Yeah.
Now, Mr. Rogers, let's drive on down to the
Vietnam Memorial, same way.
That's
You can
another-
see the copy or the Capitol from there.
Yeah,
and then Fort Hill, you see the other half of downtown.
yeah, and from Capitol View Ballpark, you can see the Capitol building.
Oh, that's true. I always
Yeah.
forget about that.
Yeah,
it's
you can-
just a little lower
Yeah,
perspective.
you
I
can see
guess.
just the dome, but you can still see it. Frankfort's got a lot of history, and I'm told we got thousands and thousands of tourists, but I don't see them
And we very
outside
well
Buffalo
may
Trace.
have, but there's no reason why we can't have thousands and thousands
More.
more.
Right. If we're going to build all these hotels, let's fill these suckers up.
They may be playing off the numbers of Buffalo Trace. Because if we talk about tourism, we have 750,000 coming in to
I know.
Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, because I know they're not downtown.
No.
Even though Kyle Thompson, if he's watching, he says he sees all these tourists downtown. Well, I drive through downtown when I get off of work because I want to see how people are doing, and all that. You go down there Sunday night, dead as a doornail.
Right. Well, and he is in a really good spot to see him in his office.
Kinda. He's not seeing directly downtown, Broadway and St. Clair,
Well,
those kind of streets.
Right.
Hoggies, they got a lot of business, but went down there this last Sunday. Hardly anything was open, which benefits me because they're coming up to my
Coming
restaurant.
up on the hill, yeah.
But I want downtown to thrive too.
Well, downtown Frankfort has changed from years ago, but there's still a lot of stuff coming back in and a lot of stuff there. People will just come down and see it.
Yeah, Mr. Rosen said the other day that there was 25 empty buildings downtown.
Probably every bit of it.
I don't know where they are.
I can remember back in the 70s when there wasn't an empty lot in downtown.
Well, Lawrenceburg, they've got a waiting list of people wanting to open a business in Lawrenceburg. So I told Mayor Troy Young, I said, hell, send them to Franklin County.
There you go.
I mean, we can use them. We got plenty of open buildings downtown and all on our shopping centers. But, I don't know that we focus that much on tourism other than throwing a couple ads, because the ball teams I talk to that I send down there, they don't get much help.
Right.
I know when we would go to other towns to play in these big softball tournaments, they would have blocks of rooms set off for us, a rate, a softball type rate in that hotel. But from what Clay Hill told me, he doesn't get that kind of help here. And he's holding 40 and 50 team tournaments here.
Yeah. That's a lot of bedrooms.
Right. Youth girls softball. A lady that runs that is she's from Nicholasville or Jessamine County. So Nicholasville, I guess. Right? Nicholasville's in Jessamine.
Or Wilmore, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be one
And
or the other.
her partner is the coach of Transylvania's girls softball team.
Okay.
They want to bring tournaments here all the time. So that's why Lakeview Park is so important. But they don't get no help on room rates or scheduling or any kind of thing like that. And I've given them the number to call. And our friend Tim Farmer, you know Tim, don't
I know
you?
Tim, yeah.
Yeah, he was told that his business wasn't welcome downtown. He
Really?
wants to open a business and was told no. So I started getting on the horn with some of the elected officials and took him up to KSU, took him out to the KSU farm, took him to the old Paul Sawyer Library by the Singing Bridge there, all over the place to try to do something. But he was super frustrated. And then he puts an ad on Facebook, said, hey, I want to open a new music studio. He said in 10 minutes he's got it done, signed and done, and he's up right across from Rupp Arena.
Yeah.
And he brings in some good music acts up there.
Right.
And he's doing his cooking show out of his house, but he wants to put that in the business downtown.
Right.
And it's not like people don't know who Tim Farmer is, because he's on KET, he's on PBS across the country.
Right.
And his Facebook page, last I checked several months ago, had over 175 million hits. So what an ambassador for Frankfort he could be.
He goes further back than that, too. He had to show Fish
Kentucky
and
Field.
Wildlife.
Yeah.
I was on it several times with him.
Well, that's why every fisherman and hunter in Kentucky, 1.4 million of them know who Tim Farmer is.
Right.
And he could bring people to Frankfort just by himself, because he told me that on one cooking show he had 20 slots available for people to come. Got a couple from Ontario, Canada, people from Oregon, California, Texas, and he got those. Once he put it online, he had those 20 slots plus about 300 other people wanting to come in less than an hour.
Yeah.
And he's wanting to do that on a bigger scale in Frankfort, but he's not getting much help, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't understand why we let dollars just go
to other towns.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah. So tourism.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about earlier. He's not going to do something.
It's going to be first class.
It's going to be first class. It's not going to be junk.
Right.
Like, get out of his way, get him what he needs, let him spend his money.
Yeah. Is there a prettier state than Kentucky in the United States?
I've traveled part of the world, and I haven't found a better place than Kentucky.
I mean, we've
That's
got it
why I'm
all.
here.
We've got it all. We got mountains.
Oh,
we
you
got-
can
we got
drive
more
40
shoreline than-
minutes in any direction. The topography completely changes.
Right.
And more
And it's
likely the
all
weather.
beautiful, and mostly the weather.
Yeah. And Michigan's called what is it? Michigan? It's 10,000 lakes.
Right.
We've got more shoreline
More
than
shoreline
Kentucky
than any other
Michigan.
state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of water. And
Is that due to the Ohio and Kentucky? Well, we got a lot of lakes too down on the Tennessee border.
well, Elkhorn Creek's 1 mile short of being classified a river.
So it'd be at 99.
Yes, 99 miles long. So, tourism, is it the number 2 or 3 industry?
I really don't know.
It's in the top 5 for sure.
It's up there.
Yeah, because we got aerospace.
It's
and we got
not one of our signature industries.
Right.
Like, you got your bourbon and horses and
Mm-hmm.
aerospace are the top three, I believe.
Yeah, most
But,
people don't know that. They're
yeah.
about aerospace.
Oh, aerospace is huge.
And
in
we're the number
Kentucky.
one aluminum smelting state in America.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know that. More.
I would have put my money on Alcoa in Tennessee.
Well, it's because of our low electricity rates because of coal.
Right.
But since we're going away from coal, we might lose those
They
industries
lose
too.
it all. Yeah.
Because if you go to some state that doesn't have a state tax or some kind of or lower occupational tax, we might lose that industry too, because they don't want to burn coal or don't want to burn natural gas.
Right.
So
Yeah, I did know about aerospace. That's what fun. I mean, we have because we looked to go into some aerospace to try to capture aerospace business specifically
for your company,
for our company because of some of the federal regulations that was supposed to be pushed on anybody who was a DoD contractor. And yeah, we have like over 600 companies that are aerospace.
yeah, I went.
Most of them are in the western part.
Yeah, played golf with this one guy in Louisville regularly, and his company had something to do with, those guns on the battleships that are just automatic. They repair them in Louisville, or they did at that time.
Oh, okay.
And so I got to go in there and tour it, and man, it is cool as heck seeing them things up close and listening to those guys tell you what they all the stuff they can do. There were some fantastic machines.
Well, outside of aerospace too, we got quite a bit of government DoD contractors, just different military parts and pieces here and there.
And when the space shuttle blew up, O-rings
Oh, really?
come out of Berea, I believe,
I think you're right. Yeah.
where they froze. Where they shouldn't have never launched it because it was too cold,
Right.
but they launched it anyway. But the O-rings that froze and busted come out of Berea. But it wasn't Berea's fault because NASA didn't do
They were launching out of spec.
in too cold. Yeah, it was too cold.
Do you know what the busiest airport in the state of Kentucky is right now?
I'd say Northern Kentucky.
No, it's not. It's not Louisville.
It's in Richmond.
Really, a number of flights,
Number of planes going in and out.
more than Louisville.
Yeah.
I was thinking the one beside the Louisville airport, the one between us and Louisville. There's a smaller airport up here.
Why is that?
Well, we've got one of the only flight schools
Oh,
at EKU, and they're running classes all day long.
Oh, that's right, because they do a full-fledged.
You can become a commercial pilot right
yeah.
there.
didn't you try to get your pilot license?
No, I want to.
Wanted to, but you couldn't because of motion sickness or something.
Oh, I can
What
only
was
get.
that?
I can only get visual because if I get above clouds, I'll get nauseous and airsick.
But
The only problem
Richmond-
I had was financial. I always wanted to do
Right.
it, but it's rather
One of my
expensive.
neighbors is a pilot, and he flies his plane. He's rebuilt. It's a 1950s or 60s plane, but he flies all the time. Anytime it's clear, he's up there flying.
I was just at Eastern for an event a couple of weeks ago, and they put us on flight simulators up there.
Oh
I
yeah.
bet that's
And
neat.
the only thing that's bad about it is we ran out of time, and I didn't get to land. I got to take
Oh.
off to fly around.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't
somewhere
get to land.
there's a simulator
There's
still
a
flying
simulator
around.
floating around out
But
there.
it's just Richmond is also announced they're building a sports complex.
Right.
Russell County is building a sports complex, and why are they doing it? For tourism. Does the state offer incentives? Do you know for
There's-
something to build a park like that?
There's money out there for tourism. Now, how it's earmarked, you know,
It's through the cabinet, I guess.
but yeah, there's money that they can apply for. And anybody here in Franklin County that wants my help, I'll be happy to write a letter to support the project. And I know Derek Graham would do the same
Right.
thing. But yeah, there's money there. We just gotta somebody with an idea and willingness to pursue it.
Yeah, because Lakeview Park's kind of died on the vine. I know last year, which was an election year, of course, it was brought up at every fiscal court meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only been brought up at one or two this entire year.
Yeah.
And we're into November now. I mean, can't find any articles. I had one time, I think maybe in August or September, I looked in the State Journal for anything mentioning Lakeview Park this year, and I found one in the first couple of weeks of February, not one since.
Oh, wow.
And, I don't know. We're because of our location, we're leaving so much money on the table. And we got the headquarters from all these things in Frankfort. We got legislators that are 5 blocks up the road that we don't got to schedule a time. We can just go up there and say, hey,
Right.
Dan, hey, Derek,
Yeah.
you got a minute? And you can usually squeeze a couple minutes out of your day. So I just, or go visit you and say, hey, let's go have lunch at Ricardo's, in Woodford County. So I just don't understand why we're not just going crazy trying to get these things, because that's instant money. You don't got to build nothing because it's already built.
Right.
And it helps your downtown. I'm wanting mountain bike trails on Fort Hill.
Right. I've heard you mention that.
Yeah, because Lake Capitol View has got one of the best mountain bike trails in all of Kentucky. I think it's 11 or 12 miles. It's maintained by the bikers, Troy Hearn mostly. And
I was going to say, my neighbor is really, really active on that.
yeah, and
Troy.
I've talked to a lot of the mountain bikers down there from multiple states. All our surrounding states that come just to ride down there, and then they leave.
Well, the good thing about the mountain bike crowd is they're self-policing.
Right, them and disc golf, same
Yes.
thing.
Yes. If you go out and act a fool and tear up stuff, somebody is going to correct that action.
The head of the disc golf of Frankfort, it's a small town in East Tennessee, holds some kind of national disc golf tournament,
Right.
and nets out over $250,000 in one weekend.
Oh, wow.
Nets out. That's not counting what all the businesses make, but
The tournament captures
that
much
much
money.
in a weekend,
Yeah.
$250,000, and we could.
How much money was brought in here when we had the convention center before it was tore down?
Well,
It
it's kind of odd,
brought people in from all over the state.
right? But it wasn't utilized much.
Well,
We didn't recruit a lot of events like Corbin has got theirs, about the same size as what we had.
Yeah.
Pikeville's got the same size about what we have. If you go look at the calendars on both of those civic centers or whatever they call them,
right.
Full.
They're full.
yeah, and it doesn't matter what it brings in, because in softball tournament, somebody said, well, you want to get the good teams. I said, no, you don't. You want teams. It doesn't matter how good they are.
That's right.
As long as they got 12 people on that team or more, you want them to come play in your town. So if you've got a civic center, because our closest one is Rupp and Freedom Hall, not
Well,
Freedom Hall.
see, that's
but-
where all the graduations used to be.
right. You all would come
we
down
came
here.
here. Shelbyville
Anderson
came
County
here,
came down.
Anderson. I mean, everybody came over here that needed a big space for
But
something.
I think Secretary Landrum said out of 300, the year they were tore it down, the previous year, I think, I'd have to research again, but I think he said we only had 55 scheduled days.
Yeah.
And that would include if somebody did it for a whole week, that'd be 7 of those 55 days. I could be completely wrong, but I know driving down there every day to work.
Yeah, I was going to say, driving by it always looked empty.
Right. It looked empty, and a lot of the meetings held there were state government meetings. We'd have meetings over there.
Right.
But I just don't think it was marketed well. I don't think our capital is marketed well. I know our location isn't marketed well.
Right.
Otherwise, those people would be staying here. They would be eating at our restaurants. Downtown Frankfort wouldn't be closed on Sunday at all.
Right.
When I leased the Frankfort boat dock, Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, all the 3-day holidays, I'd fill up the Capitol Plaza Hotel.
Yeah.
And all I did was put some flyers in Madisonville and in Cincinnati. And then people would come up to 66 miles up the river and stay here for a whole weekend.
Right.
And eat at the restaurant, stay at the Capitol Plaza Hotel. Gary Penn bought a 15-passenger van to take them up to Cliff Hagen's,
Right.
because I used to take them in the back of my pickup truck, until the police said, no, you can't do that. And, it's just, can't figure out why we're not just, that would seem to be a number one focus that you would report on every meeting. What event you're sponsoring, what you're doing, because I see it around the rest of Kentucky. Bowling Green's booming.
Happening everywhere. What's his name?
Look at
David Beck
Owensboro.
running the fairgrounds over in Louisville.
Yeah,
Amazing what they're doing
right.
down there.
Or just look at Shelbyville.
Yeah.
My daughter lives, well, they got Clear Creek, and then they've got that animal place.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter lives by the animal place, and when we go up there, there's always something going on there. Yeah. And then we'll go over to Clear Creek to walk, or she'll walk her dog, and they got pickleball tournaments. There's people there all the time.
Right.
Well, I think we get in Frankfort specifically, and I recognize this not being from Frankfort. Well, I moved here in '94, but if you're not born in Franklin County, you're never from Franklin County.
That's got to change.
Well, that's pretty typical across the state.
Well, I come from the northeastern part in Greenup County, but I think it comes from a mindset of, well, we can't do it like Louisville, or we can't do it like this. Well, no, but you have to start somewhere.
Or don't change anything because we like it the way it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't like it, go back home.
Woodford suffered from that for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Frankfort has for at least 35 years that I've been here.
Yeah.
So
They did as long because they had the powerful groups.
It's funny the difference that an imaginary line on a map will make
Yes.
to people.
Well, look, Bell County took advantage of the strip mines. My cousin is married to the Bell County judge,
Okay.
and they started, the side-by-sides. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. UTVs or
Yeah,
whatever.
all
Oh,
those
yeah,
things.
Yeah.
First year they had it, they had about 20 or 30 come down there. It's now grown into a week-long event, and there's so many cars in Bell County, in the mountains, so many cars. They've got to fly a drone up to get a picture of the parking lots of all those people that are there. 20,000 people coming down to ride those trails for a week for an event, for different events that they've put together.
There's a thing being run through now that is developing those trails
In the
throughout
mountains.
eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it's a major draw. If you don't believe me, go out here on Friday or Sunday night and watch those things on the back of trailers going down.
Right,
the
yeah.
interstate.
Yeah.
All covered in mud.
Yeah.
Me and my wife went somewhere, and we stopped. It was 4th of July a couple years ago, and we stopped in this town right off the interstate just to get something to eat. And there's side-by-sides running across the roads the whole time we're there watching the fireworks, going up these trails behind us and going on trails across the street and going on trails. They could ride them on the roads.
Right. Some of the locals have made exceptions for some of
Yeah,
that. You
right.
know.
Nice
Yeah.
ones. And they all got helmets on, and all that stuff. But there's young kids, there's adults, older people my age out there just slowly riding, of course, I'm sure.
right.
But
Well,
it's drawing people in. There was like 10 of those buggies at the little restaurant we were at. So they were in there eating. Now, I don't know if they were from there or not. Probably not.
Right.
But it doesn't matter what the event is. The goal is to get people in.
And if you let people know what's going on, there's somebody else show up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Craig's point to location, we've talked about this multiple times. We're, less than an hour from Lexington, less than an hour from Louisville, less than an hour from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I mean, and there is nothing that parents won't do if it's not spend money to take your kid to go play some kind of sport.
Well, they held the disc golf.
Yeah, they're doing it. They're taking them somewhere.
They're taking them somewhere.
Bowling
It might as well
My
be here.
granddaughter plays volleyball.
Right.
And she's on 3 or 4 travel teams when they're not in, the regular school team playing, and she's all over the place. Did the
There's
same
no
thing
such
when
thing
she
as
was
a
swimming.
There's no such thing as a weekend at home.
Right.
Not anymore.
And you're out spending money. You're eating. And that's the thing. You want the good teams. I agree with you. You want the teams.
It's
Well,
the
if
team.
you've
It
got-
don't
if
matter.
you've got too many teams, start ranking them and have,
Right.
A class, B
Make it
class,
competitive.
whatever, and make
Yeah.
it competitive.
But you don't got to have the all
until
star.
you get there, just get teams in.
Yeah,
It.
you're not inviting them in for you to watch. You're inviting them in so they can compete and that they'll eat.
Yeah, they'll
because
spend money
I'm
in
sure
town.
Da Vinci's is not going to lower their price because it's the, 12,000th team in Kentucky versus the top 100 teams.
Right.
They're spending the same money. It doesn't matter.
And that's what you will just want the people in.
People want to compete.
From a business point of view.
Yes.
And these guys are coming in and they're having fun.
Right.
Win or lose, they know what's going on.
And they don't care if local people are watching them play.
No,
They're bringing their own crowds.
they're out there to have fun and do their thing.
Yeah, we traveled Kentucky and Southeast from February to November playing softball
Right.
every weekend. And fortunately, we had sponsors, but still, we're spending money in all these different towns. I mean, we went to Menifee County. One of our teammates was from Menifee, so we'd play in his county.
Right.
And ball field, it's like Field of Dreams. You're going in the mountains, you're driving on a narrow dirt road, but where this ball field is, it opens up.
Right.
And then you got the Appalachian Mountains behind you, and it's in the fall, so they're turning colors. It was spectacular.
Absolutely.
I
Gorgeous,
loved
I'm
going
sure.
up there playing.
Yeah.
Because it was scenic. We're playing all local guys, and we're but it was just, and all of us stayed at his house, his parents' house, and because it was big enough to hold all of us. I mean, it was a good time.
Yeah.
And Frankfort could do that too because we're not Menifee County, we're not Ashland, we're not in Bowling Green. But look how much Bowling Green's getting. So I just wish we would focus more. And with you being on is it a standing committee for tourism?
Yeah. It's tourism and outdoor
So you're
recreation.
a resource for us.
Yeah, whatever I can do to help.
Right.
We can't obviously,
Or at least
go
for
out
part of the county, right?
Yeah.
No, the whole
Well, no, I mean,
I was kidding.
I know, but seriously, for people listening, if I got 1 square inch of it, I want to represent everybody here.
Right.
My job is just to help people.
Well, and that goes to another thought, and it might be one of these questions. Do many people from Franklin County, do they reach out to you and Derek?
I can't speak for Derek. I'm sure they do him the same as they do me.
I call you a lot.
I hear people all the time, even when you're not in session, you will have people call and ask for help or thank you for doing whatever or can you fix this next year or
So
whatever.
our local residents are reaching out to you.
Locals
for help.
Yeah, and I'll get them from people all the way across the state too.
Yeah. That's just good to hear that we're reaching out to you.
Right.
I mean, that's a good thing that people are.
And that's what you should. I mean, that's what people should do.
Well, that's what it's about.
I mean, how do you vote? Is hypothetical. How do you vote for the people if the people haven't let their voice be heard?
Exactly. And how do I know what the people need to be changed if you're not telling them?
If you're not telling.
That's one of the hardest things people have to, I think, wrap their mind around is when you're sworn in, you don't miraculously know everything about
Right.
everything.
Right.
You've got to talk to people in the field, boots on the ground, to come tell you what's going on, what you need to do.
What is the state not doing to help?
Yeah.
So I know I call you enough.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm not shy about it, and call Senator Williams, and ask him about different things. If I, hear something in town, I'll call you up and say, hey, what about this? Can y'all do it? Because on these Safe Haven baby boxes, I called you.
Right.
Said what's going on. You sent me a bunch of information
Right.
that I passed on to John, and now we're going to have one here in Frankfort in the city
Shortly,
downtown. Yeah. So. We're coming up on an hour and a half, Eric.
Yeah, I'll just
we
say-
told Dan we was only going to keep him here an hour.
Well, and I told myself I was going to cut you off at about 7, but then
Cut me off?
Yeah, but then I
Cut
became.
me?
Yeah, I heard you. You heard me. And but then I became guilty of talking just as much as you tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's not every day you get a state legislator in here
That's right.
that you can ask them. And we didn't even talk about session
Right.
coming up. This is a budget year, so it's going to be a fun year for you all.
It's going to be a busy year. It's
Yeah.
been a busy year already. Normally, when session ends, everything just kind of floats for a little while. It gets quiet, nothing's going on. the day after session was just as busy as it was 2 weeks before that.
Really?
I mean, yeah. I've been in the office, 2 days this week so far. I'm there about 4 or 5 days a week. If
And we're
nothing
not
else,
in session.
we're not in session, and I'm not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm close enough, and I'll stop in to take care of something, or if somebody needs to meet with me, I'll go meet with them or what have you. But yeah,
One last thing, green slips. I've heard that term all my years in state government. It's where constituents call. Is that still in play?
yeah. But let me let a secret out. They're
Okay.
not really green all the time. It's just what paper they put it on. But no, we get them. I'll get them digitally. I get them in print paper. You know,
And that's just a citizen
it's
asking you something.
Yeah, it'll be, you know, I've got this going on, or I need this help, or why did you do this? And every now and then you'll get somebody that's, you know, you're doing a great job, or why were you even born? We don't like you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, get the full spectrum.
And
But,
the number they call for that's 564-8100, right? Do I remember that right?
I believe that's right.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I remember from back in the day.
And you can also use the website, you know, whatever you want to do.
It's the lrc.ky.gov.
Well, that one will work, or
Okay.
legislature.ky.lrc.ky.gov.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and, you know, to your point, if half of the people like you, you're doing an outstanding job.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
50%, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Right. I don't disagree with that.
I mean,
I
that's
don't know
awesome.
that that's achievable, but
Well,
you know,
right,
you know,
right.
but yeah.
Okay. So, we're about
Yeah, I'm
25
good.
minutes
Is there
long.
anything else that you want to add before we close out?
No, thank you all for being here, and thank the people that are listening.
Now, could you come during the session? Would you even have an inkling of time?
It's possible.
I know you
won't-
email
won't
out
commit,
updates. I know you
but
email out updates.
But yeah, and if you're not getting my updates, please reach out to my office, and we'll get you on the mailing list. I try to send one every week. Now there might be a few weeks get missed, but just nonpartisan, just what's going on.
Yeah,
So,
they're interesting. I get a bunch
Yeah.
from different ones. So you get different perspectives from different legislators. It's pretty neat.
Well, when you're in session, we'll reach out, and if we have to do it on a short notice, hey, I can be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen. We're pretty flexible.
Cool.
be happy to if we can work it out.
Okay.
That'd be pretty.
Well, thank
that'd
you,
be pretty
Dan.
cool to get a live
Thank you,
update.
Representative Pfister.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Call me Dan.
Yeah.
Call me Dan. Yep. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate it, and hopefully the viewers got some good information. If not,
Yeah.
maybe during session we'll get some good live updates.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
Dan.
Thanks, Dan.